Check 1, 2, 3. Cool.
Just read me.
Sorry, I don't know if you'll be.
I'm gonna have to do slides from over there though. So
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Awesome.
Actually, if you want, you could set up a.
I think who else is like in mail?
Try to think of how to get, so you can see the slides too.
Well.
Go-to meeting. I could. You can use the camera.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice to get you too, though.
Can you share your desktop?
I'm not sure. I'm using like just the Google Hangout broadcast thing.
Oh, well,
Yeah. So it's
if
like
you send me the
broadcasting.
link to that, I could broadcast mine. Can I share my desktop on Google?
I'm not sure. I've never tried it. But if you send out the slides, that's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah. I can capture that as well.
Yeah. That's Niels, like Niels Bohr?
Oh, yeah.
Is that N-E-I-L-S?
NIE. Yes.
N-I-E, sorry.
Yeah. My dad was a physicist. So.
Hello? Awesome.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, he's not working anymore, so but he never really stopped being a physicist.
I know. Physics is a hobby of mine. I love it.
Oh, nice.
Especially the new quantum physics and string theory.
Yeah, I love that stuff. Awesome.
Yeah, that should be fine.
Yeah? Okay,
Although,
cool.
I guess I'll be gesticulating.
Okay. Let's go.
Yeah, who's your equalizer?
Oh, yeah, nice. Cool, you signed up and everything?
Yeah. I've taken one class before, but
Oh, yeah, always, you know. I mean, we're just gonna it's just basically a jumping off point for beginners and just people to solidify the basics and stuff. I honestly will be coding full on too.
Yeah. Are you, who's leading it?
That's Daniel. Yeah. Okay. I'll be, TA, I guess.
I did this summer, that's why you're
Oh, yeah, everyone submitted their stuff for the class.
Yeah, I think someone barely had one minute, and it's like, yeah, I was really late finding ideas.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Eat up my battery. Yeah, just watch out.
Are you doing live streaming?
What's that?
Are you doing live streaming?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. So it's gonna be recorded and we're gonna have a video?
Yeah, we'll have a video.
Oh, nice.
It'll go to YouTube.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
You're using
Then you can use iMovie to like put the slides in.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I have a question.
Sure.
So you mentioned that it's currently not very popular in the United States. And, right, and I've sort of looked into, there are several studies that on the opinions of hospitals, why they choose to adopt it.
Right.
And I'm trying to compare, do a comparison between the open source and the free, between the hospitals,
Yep.
like practice, and I guess.
So Practice Fusion is not an open source thing.
Right, but it's a
free
EM, which is the interesting model. It's kind of like,
It hasn't proven to work because,
oh, it hasn't.
so the idea there, I think, and I haven't looked at it recently, but it was that through advertising and through use of the data, you get free access. But people felt very uncomfortable about both having that disruption to the workflow process as well as having data. So
they don't have a
so that's why, I mean, most of the company I work with supplies something like 2/3 of all physicians in the United States through the big medical records like Epic, Cerner, NextGen. Those are the proprietary systems. And this is also the reason why open source is taken off is because the cost of maintenance and support is, you either have to have a community of people supporting you to do the free stuff, or you pay, and if you pay, you have to pay somebody, and so you have to pay a big company that has, so Epic.
But aren't there also companies that specialize in?
Well, so there are like World Vista, there are companies that do that, but they're generally not US based or not US centric. Many of the complications around the US healthcare system means like meaningful use and some of these new certification requirements. It's much harder for open source to exist in the traditional hospital settings. Like, these less traditional things where you have research programs or public clinics where they don't have a lot of money, can't afford to pay for an Epic or something like that. They're using
Okay.
And then there are different systems like, so there are Open EHR and Open EMR and Open MRS. The other,
I'm still trying to grasp the difference between like EHR.
There's no difference.
Oh, okay, they're just called different.
EHR is the more PC.
Oh, okay. More. Okay, so
Medical record implies only the medical. But the health record implies soups and nuts, prevention and all that. And then, although PHR, the patient health record, does have a very different meaning. It's demo, based on patients. But then, in terms of the other ones, only Open MRS really has a broad implementation.
Right, but outside of
well, in the US too, I think I might have a slide. I think where I have all of this.
Okay.
If you go OpenMRS Atlas or atlas.openmrs.org,
the maps.
it's a map of everything, and there are some in the US, but mostly overseas.
Yeah, because
But also probably a lot of. Entity attribute value.
it sounds very flexible.
It is. And it's the basis of something called I2V2. So if you are at all into research, there's a sort of a network of I2V2 that uses the same data model. And the Regan Street, Rio, or the Health Exchange, Regional Health Exchange in Indiana, is also based on this data.
Just in Indiana.
Well, it's actually, it's not that common.
Oh.
And,
Holy.
sure.
Yeah, we have a paper due today.
Today, wow, okay, well, how about you get a quick scramble? You're gonna be in back writing.
Yeah. That's fine.
I think most of this won't be relevant to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard about practice freedom in the 2000s, and so I looked it up, but I couldn't find a lot of literature on it, and the stuff that I found on it were mostly like on their website, so it's very obviously very biased. And I was, but it seems like a very, I guess, a model that people would want to adopt apart from the sort of like, oh, we're taking it.
But so the way in New York State, you could get eClinicalWorks, which is a good proprietary software package. But if you make an agreement with the state to share your data to what's called the primary care PC program, primary care support program. Yeah, exactly. And they are doing they will supply you for a very cheap amount of money eClinicalWorks configured for your clinic. So if you're eClinicalWorks,
or they supply assistance for any sort of genre, or there's
no. That eClinicalWorks is there.
Oh, okay.
And so it's like
but that's
it's a thin client. It's not open source, but it's designed for small practices, and it's very cheap if you do it through this New York Department of Public Health program. The thing is that there aren't that many freestanding doctor's offices that are really by themselves now. Almost all of them are associated with some kind of integrated delivery networks or hospitals, and the hospitals purchase an information system and then get pushed out. So there's not as much. There's a big shift toward these larger systems, and therefore they can afford to use more expensive software. But eClinicalWorks is like the mom and pop type doctor's offices. And then you can go something like NextGen would be like the small groups up to 5-10 doctors in a group. And then once you get much beyond that, 20 doctors or you're into the big software.
So I guess the direction for like younger adoption, you see that it's gonna be larger hospitals like the proprietary.
Well, it's not clear whether or not they will. These larger proprietary systems, I hope that open source will come back, I think, pressure. In a more interoperable world where the systems can really talk to one another, then people might choose to use open source systems that they can customize rapidly for their local use, and then maybe the big hospitals will continue to use proprietary systems and they would communicate. I'm not sure what's going to happen because the politics and the economics are very centralized. The hospitals, so they're more likely going to dictate kind of systems. Well, yeah, because it's threatening to them because you can make changes, or people actually get to own their systems. And that is a huge management issue. Even eClinicalWorks struggles a lot because they have a very customizable. But once that happens, you now have 80 different versions of the software. And open source is not easy. I mean, you need to have people who know how to support it. So it's like having your own software company. And that's much harder for most people. Organizations like Partners in Region Street, people that have access to students, computer scientists, they can use open source. But for most, individual doctors, it's risky. And just how to support it. You have to get breaks. How to get upgrades. Deals need to turn on.
I don't know.
Are you doing introductions? Okay.
Oh, it's been really okay. Cool. It's from.
Probably.
Okay.
Cool.
It's been like recording. Oh, well, I'm asking.
You always have first time. Like 15 seconds in, I was like, well.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's
Welcome, everyone. Hey, so we're gonna go ahead and start very soon. Thank you, everyone, for coming. So I'm very honored to present our speaker for today, Dr. Andrew Cantor. Dr. Andrew Cantor is a former director of Health Information System and Medical Informatics for the Millenium Villages project. He has worked in more than 50 countries and supported the development and implementation of the Millennium Villages Global Network, as well as other eHealth and mHealth implementations around the world. Dr. Cantor is currently a faculty at Columbia University and also continues to work extensively with open source applications such as OpenMRS and DHIS2. In addition to his work in informatics, he is a physician activist against climate change and nuclear war. Let's welcome Dr. Andrew Cantor.
Excuse me. Thanks. Nice to see everybody here. You can hear me okay? All right, great. So first of all, it's really great to see a good turnout. It always helps to have free food, I think. How many of you guys are actually already sort of involved in some kind of international effort? Either you came from there or you are planning on going back to there in terms of a few? Not a lot, okay. So I'm going to try to talk about sort of the use of information technology for solving some of the big world problems, specifically around using an example of the Millennium Villages project, but I'll touch on a little bit of the work that we're doing around Ebola. And there's plenty of, I hope there'll be plenty of opportunity for questions on this as well. So first, the usual sort of round of disclosures. As you already heard, so the International eHealth Lab is actually based at the Department of Biomedical Informatics, but it was meant to really be a kind of collaboration between the Mailman School of the Department of Epidemiology at the Mailman School, as well as the Earth Institute and the Department of Engineering. Currently, most of the work that we focus on, I'm going to talk about, is supporting the OpenMRS network, but there are other open source information systems that I'll be discussing. My primary point of affiliation is with the Department of Biomedical Informatics. Anyone even heard of the Department of Biomedical Informatics? Okay. So we are responsible for the clinical information systems in the hospital, as well as many other applications of health information technology. I'm also here in the Department of Epidemiology, although with my greatly reduced amount of hours now, I don't have a lot of opportunity to do work with students here. I have supervised a few sort of projects and theses on the master's level stuff, but it's very hard at this point, to be honest, to take on new students. So this is kind of more of a context for you. As the introduction mentioned, I'm also the past president of Physicians for Social Responsibility. We're mostly working on the gravest issues that threaten human health and survival. This namely that with a short period of time before the Millennium Development Goals were coming due, and with an integrated approach at a fixed price, namely $120 per person per year, we could achieve the Millennium Development Goals in the time available. And a lot of people, there's a lot of controversy about, this is a randomized controlled trial. What can you really say about this? The only point I guess I would mention is that the problems are big. The application of these tools are constant and changing, and that the real idea is, was it possible to do this? Not was this the best and only way to do this? But everyone was quite frustrated over the last 60 years of not being able to make significant impacts on these problems. And so the MVP was really about showing that it could be done and documenting the process. So if someone was interested, they could continue to do it. We were about 500,000 people in these villages and surrounding villages around the world. Sorry, mostly around Africa. Sorry. These are the countries that we were working in. What you can see right off the bat is that not only are they all over Africa, but they're different departments of public health, different languages, different reporting requirements, all sorts of different issues that make implementing any kind of cohesive system difficult. So this was, in some ways, a microcosm of what it's like to do global health in the real world. Everyone is quite different, and that the solutions that we propose, particularly coming from ivory towers in departments of public health and so on, need to be grounded in the reality of what those requirements are. So health information is fundamental, and we actually published a paper in sort of the International Medical Informatics Journal about the application of information as a treatment in a way. It's just, when you have a choice of whether you want to spend, $1,000 on putting in some sort of phone-based system or a computer in a clinic versus getting, X number more rapid diagnostic tests for malaria, or maybe even paying for a nurse. Most people would pay for the drugs and the nurse, but what it turns out is that and I'll talk a bit about this, the investment, the long-term application of information to solving problems is a much more cost-effective solution. And therefore, we often don't think about it as an actual treatment. 3 of the 8 MDGs are health-related. We were concerned primarily about improving care. So rather than just being a research project, we had to show impact. We had to be able to show at the end of the MVP project that we'd actually met the Millennium Development Goals, so this was very outcome related. And so the systems that we were building were not just about studying, but they were really about how to iterate quickly, how to get information back out to the people who are actually trying to solve these problems, so that if something was not working, we stopped doing it, and if something was working somewhere within the MVP system, we could quickly spread it to the other areas. We didn't have the luxury of waiting 3 years or 5 years for the end of the outcomes part of the research to figure out, oh, we did something wrong, or yeah, we did something right, too late. So that's why information systems are so important. This is kind of a technical document or picture, but what it basically shows is how these different kinds of health systems can work together, open source systems. In the very center of it is a computer that runs OpenMRS, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, open source medical record system. It was linking together primarily community health workers in the fields who had cell phones. Most people know about mHealth right now. It's a very hot topic. There's a lot of hype about it, but in many ways it's quite good. And it links people out in the field to some sort of central aggregation of information. And that if that information is shared widely, it can be very useful. If it's not shared widely, it's not very useful, and it can actually be harmful. We have a connection between that server and sort of up above, which is where MVP was. It was anonymized data was being collected as a way for us to do research and to immediately be providing feedback to the local folks on what was working and what was not working. We had clinics basically running using cell phones, mostly Android-based smartphones in the clinics, but also potentially tablets in some areas. And that that information could actually provide the automated reports to the district health information system. So as you're probably aware of, Ministry of Health reports generally take a very long time to be compiled from the clinics all the way up to the districts and then eventually to the Ministry of Health. There's an open source system called DHIS2, which could basically automate this whole process, single push of a button, numbers get rolled up to the ministry level. And then in Ghana, we're doing a very interesting experiment with the use of telemedicine. Telemedicine is another example of a bit of hype, which is, it's going to solve everything in the world by having remote doctors, with robots and stuff like that. That's not really what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is having centralized experts to help facilitate the treatment of patients in the field by peripheral healthcare workers and determining primarily when people should be referred and not referred. So that's what telemedicine is. To give you an idea of where we were, I should have updated this slide actually, it's an older presentation, but essentially, we're talking about 750,000 patients across these different sites. There are 13 different servers that we're running. As you can see, 3 million encounters. So fairly large numbers. I mean, these are relatively small compared to like even the information that we have here at New York Presbyterian and the amount of patient visits that are kept in our hospital. But for the kind of primary care like visits that these are happening, home visits and clinic-based visits, this is a pretty large database. So when we developed this system, we needed to make sure that we kept in mind certain principles, because as I mentioned before, we wanted this to be available across multiple different sites and multiple different, with different requirements. We wanted that to be sustainable. We wanted there to be local ownership, things like that. So we chose open source, and I was having a discussion earlier just about this. Open source has an important rule. It's not free like this code is free. It takes a lot of work to put out open source, but fundamentally it is changeable and ownable by the people who are using it. We wanted it to be standards-based. This is so that if we build a system in one country, it's going to talk to the systems in the other country, and more importantly, that if I put in an implementation in Millennium Villages, which is like 10 different villages within one sub-district, that if that district wants to expand to another district or talk to other districts in that country, that they're going to be able to do that. They're not going to have to redevelop their entire system. So always thinking about using standards so that these things actually do integrate. And this allows us fundamentally to not just exchange data back and forth, but hopefully information, which is kind of interpretation of the data, and then eventually knowledge and wisdom about best practices and so on. We knew that we needed to be able to go, because Millennium Villages was so focused on the very last mile, the peripheral community health workers and so on, we had to be able to go from the field worker up to the clinic, so that there was that referral process, which was very important, where most of the care is being done either at the house or at the clinic, eventually up to the ministry and then to academia. And very importantly, when I talk to the medical students, it's a little bit easier to describe this than public health students, but in medicine, we know that about 50%